Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm on today with the wonderful Steve McRae, and I will be on camera until such time that my internet acts ridiculous, and then it will probably be easier to get off. But anyways, also save you guys the trouble of not having to look at my face. So anyways, we will be taking questions from the audience probably at some point because I did not prepare a whole lot of questions, but we'll see. So my very first question though is, how are you feeling?
I'm doing okay. I'm tired. This was spur of the moment, but I'm doing okay. Thanks.
Spur of the moment. Were you doing other things tonight, Steve?
Well, I had my non sequitur show, and then I was promoting that. You had messaged me earlier today if I could come on this channel after my show, and of course, I would never turn you down. Even though I got to admit, I am intimidated to come on this channel because you are so well versed in these topics, and whenever we get into biology, I just feel like a total idiot. But hey, I enjoy coming on, so
I
just don't ask
I
the
never
biology
want
stuff.
to. I never want to intimidate anyone. Actually, I was talking to a creationist just the other day, and he said he watched one of my series, and he said I was almost a little intimidated to talk to you. And I said, please don't ever feel intimidated to talk to me. That is one of my biggest fears. Is
But you
that
really know your stuff, and that's amazing, and that's huge props because we need more people in the community that actually do know about these topics. I mean, I have a very layperson's understanding. I had biology, and I probably could get by in a basic college level, but you guys that actually do this stuff and actually study it and have an aptitude for it, whether formally or informally, you guys are really, really good at it. And so we need those kinds of people to actually address the concerns of people that don't understand evolution and don't understand biology well, because they're ubiquitous anymore. I see them all the time on YouTube. I see them all the time on G Plus. I see them especially on Twitter. I'm dealing with this one guy now on Twitter that just doesn't seem to have the most rudimentary understanding of basic biology. And I'm not talking like anything complicated.
no?
He just doesn't seem to understand the difference between a prokaryote and a eukaryote kind of thing. And so it's like, well, then you haven't disproved evolution. You haven't disproved abiogenesis. You if you don't understand what even ATP is, then you really probably are not in a position to say you falsified anything. So that's just my personal view on it.
I definitely agree with that. There are there are so many people, and the funny thing is when I talk to these people, they always tell me they understand how evolution works, and they understand biology and stuff, and then you press them on basic issues, and then suddenly, yeah.
Did you watch George the other night? George's understanding of
Oh God.
macroevolution is if you get a suntan, you'll pass it on to your children. That's literally his understanding of it. So, yeah, when I talk to a lot of younger creationists, as you know, I have yet to see one, and I'm talking anyone, even if they have a PhD, that doesn't make very critical mistakes when it comes to evolution or those kinds of topics. So it just goes to show you might have a doctorate degree, but they willfully, and I think it is willful, make mistakes or say things that an error just to foster their ideological view on things because they put the narrative first and then the science second, and they'll even say that. I mean, the mission statement, their statement of faith even says no science can come ahead of their beliefs that
Mhm.
the earth is young. So at that point you've already excluded yourself from the realm of science. You are no longer a scientist at that point.
Right.
So
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I have RJ and I are co-authoring a book. We're taking apart the Answers in Genesis, the New Answers book, piece by piece, and one chapter is on natural selection, written by Georgia Purdom, and her chapter is titled uh, "Is Natural Selection the Same as Evolution?" or something like that. And it's like nobody thinks that it is.
strong man.
So why is this? You as a geneticist, why is this an issue? You know?
And she's really educated. I mean, nobody says that Jordina doesn't know her field. I mean, she's a very
Right.
educated woman.
Oh yeah,
This is
she's
why
done
I think
real
it has to be
research.
willful. Who can you name a reputable scientist that has ever suggested that natural selection and evolution are equivalent to each other?
Right. Yeah, exactly. No. No one does. It's not only a straw man, it just shows that they are purposefully not trying to
Yep.
understand it.
Or
Yeah,
just lying.
well, that is a possibility, but I do hope that is not the case. Although, I mean,
It's
some of
hard to
them,
accuse them of it, but it's at the point where it's still willful dishonesty. I think either way.
yeah, yeah, I would have to. Uh, uh, Consensual said the inside of the green cup looks gross.
It's tomato juice. Just
It's what
dark as the
juice?
cake. Tomato juice. It's
Tomato juice.
very
It's
thick
like a
tomato
V8.
juice. Yeah. No, it's like this store brand tomato juice.
Okay. Interesting. Very
High
interesting.
in vitamin C and iron.
You know, yeah. Yeah, that's true. You know what else is high in iron? Iron. Yeah.
Iron is very high in iron. Yes.
Upward, at least 50% iron.
Yeah.
But
Do you know what potassium? A lot of potassium is made of potassium.
what? Whoa.
Yeah.
We don't need
Mind blown, right?
I think it's really funny the I think I've said this in other streams, but or maybe I haven't. Regardless, the commercialization of the idea that like the banana has the most potassium. Actually, strawberries have more potassium than banana, you know, but it's just that the commercial industry grabbed onto the banana Ray
Well, it is
Comfort
high in
style.
potassium. I mean
Yeah.
as relatively speaking, right? So
Right,
that's what they
right,
latched on to. And
right.
potatoes, I mean, bananas are good for you. I actually told somebody one time that bananas, that chimps, other primates and stuff, open the banana from the bottom rather than the top. And
Yeah, I think I've heard that.
they actually messaged me and they said, "Oh my God, I've tried that. Holy shit, you're right, Steve." And I was like, "Yeah, pretty cool, right? Try it. Take a banana and open it from the bottom. Just pinch it, and you can pull it right apart and it doesn't smush."
Well, fortunately, the hand is perfectly designed to hold the banana, which is also perfectly designed.
Prehensile. I got a opposable thumb because of what's called teleonomic design. Yeah.
You know what? No one really talks about Ray Comfort anymore. Whatever happened to him?
I think people learned that he was an idiot. No, he's still around. I mean, he
He
goes
just kind
on
of dropped
Twitter every.
off.
No, he still sells his DVDs and books out of his house. He's on Twitter every so often, but he doesn't acknowledge anything. I've never once seen him acknowledge a Twitter response to him. I know I've tried. I know Shannon's tried. I think Paula GMA has tried. He
Hmm.
just doesn't bother because he doesn't need to anymore. I
No,
think
he
he's kind of
doesn't.
dropped out of the limelight.
Yeah,
He's
I mean,
got a
because
sucker fan base, and that's it.
that's true. Yeah, I know he puts out those little pamphlet kind of books, and he also made with the Atheist Delusion. That was, I guess, that was 2 years ago, wasn't it? 1 year ago, maybe 2 years ago.
Didn't read it, so
Oh well, it was. Well, it was a movie. It was because he does the movies where he just goes and interviews a bunch of people.
oh yeah, the movie. Oh, that's right. Because what I'll do is I'll do all those Frankenstein cuts and just honestly edit it
Yeah,
to make it appear that people are answering questions that weren't even asked. And
yeah,
he's been called out on that, but again, he doesn't care. People are still buying his stuff. That's what I
right,
don't understand. People are willfully being lied to, and they don't even care. They're like, it doesn't matter. It's for the glory of God.
right. I talked to PC about that one time. We were having a conversation about that, and he's like, "Yeah, our real conversation was much longer than that, but of course that all that part got cut out." So, oh well, such is life, I guess. But anyways, so how did you make your first foray into the YouTube business?
I started my channel about 5 years ago. My channel is mostly back then before I even did videos. I was just doing comments on other people's videos. A lot of them was stated clearly, and a few other videos that I really enjoyed. And a couple of them were math videos, like the whole 0.99 repeating equals 1. I would be explaining that to people.
Hmm.
And I was finding it was weird, but I'm not kidding. Many of my comments were filling up to 500 responses a lot. And I was getting the top comment on the video a lot on many different videos. I was just unseated recently on one that I had, I don't know, thousands of likes. It was on CNN News or something. But somebody who had a bigger channel beat me. Whatever.
Oh.
But I was thinking to myself, you know what? If people are liking my comments, maybe they would like it if I did this in real time. If I had discussions with people when I talked. And so I had been involved in certain groups, like you remember Nadia Vet Chambers, that she used to have a channel. And I would drop into her room and I'd see the conversations going on and said, hey, this is a pretty cool little format, but I don't think it's utilized fully. I don't think it's being implemented as fully as it could. And so I started my YouTube channel, and it was just predicated on just having conversations, just hangouts, but talking about young creationism and whatever else. And then, of course, it developed more into the Great Debate community, and the Drake community had already been around as far as this group of people that were sitting there having conversations. But I wanted to codify it. I wanted to more consolidate it and put it into something where this group could be used to foster the help to other groups, help get them more subs, help get them on the map, help have them promote their own stuff. And so that worked exceptionally well. We're up to 1,600 people in the Great Debate community now. We have our own wiki. And then out of that, Kyle Curtis messaged me a year or whatever ago and said, "Hey, I watch your stuff. I watch the Great Debate community. I got a brilliant idea that I run by you. I know you don't know me, but will you listen?" And I said, "Sure." Boom. I was like, "This is it. This is the direction that I wanted to go from the beginning." And we just, shotgun stuff and threw it all out there and said, "Okay, this is the direction we want to go." And he did his little graphics because he's brilliant graphics. And now we have the non sequitur show. So that's how that came about.
Oh yeah, I do like the. It's like I'm gonna rewind a little bit. I do like the Great Debate community, and I've got to meet a lot of interesting people through it, like Nestle and JD Kane, a whole bunch of different interesting people here and there. Of course, Jade West and and Fiona.
So it's a
and
loss for Jade.
Yeah, absolutely is. Yeah.
She was
I've
a
gotten
wonderful, wonderful person. She was the heart and
yeah.
soul of the Great Debate community, without question.
Yeah, yeah, she was absolutely amazing. And I had her on just like a month ago on my channel, and then I did another talk with her on your channel with Sai and some others talking about after his conversation with oh crap Huffman. Right after his
Arm
conversation with
Huffman.
Huffman. Yeah.
Yeah.
All these too many people.
There are a lot of people. There are a lot of people on the internet. Yeah, it's a big place. It's hard to keep track. That's why we have the wiki, the Great Debate Community Wiki. We actually keep track of people, and there's a lot of people that work on it. And I got to admit, the people that work on it, they do an amazing job. Hiller Finder and Kevin B and a whole bunch of people. It's a community thing. It's not just for G Plus. The Great Debate Community Wiki is for pretty much anybody who just wants to be, somebody on YouTube that wants to talk about stuff or have a page. You go to the Great Debate Wiki, make your own page. It's fine. We don't care.
Yeah, it's really neat. One person and the video I have the most views on. Oh, a Wild Savannah has joined us. See, she is real.
We're doing video. Okay.
CGI. You see this? See what
It's
Jackson
like-
has to go through to try to maintain like he actually like a girlfriend. Come on.
Well, it's like Paula G and Vice Rhino. They're literally the same person.
Yeah, I'm convinced of that. Yeah.
Like one person turns off his mic, the other one starts talking.
It's funny. I know we're going to go on tangent here, but that's what we do anyways. But there's a video on Darwin's Greatest Hits where you had Rose Patton and Godless Girl both in there, and they were talking to this guy named A4, who's a complete spurt guitar nutter, right? And he is convinced they're the same person, and it was so brilliant. And I don't think they planned this. I don't know, but when Rose would stop talking, Godless would start talking. And when Godless would mute her mic, Rose would start talking back and forth. And he just thought they were totally messing with him. But they are two different people, but they sound so much alike. And it was hilarious. Watch it on the Darwin's Greatest Hits. It's great.
That does sound awesome. Oh man, you've got a fan in the side chat.
My boy Robert.
Sentinel Apologetics. I don't know yet. No, this is an interview. Thank you. If you want to talk,
that's General Han Solo, right?
I've
do you know
I've
General
heard
Han Solo?
of General Han Solo.
Wow, he doesn't know who you are, Robert.
Didn't he have a debate with? Buddy. He had a debate with Arn Ra, didn't he? At one point.
Yeah,
on biblical history.
He had a debate with Arn on the local flood or not, or the Flood's local global on my channel.
Right.
Yeah.
Is he actually a flat earther?
No.
Okay. I'm sorry. I am terribly sorry for not knowing you.
Robert, you're a liar, pants on fire.
Blasphemy. Anyways, right. Yes, one of my favorite people of all that I've met through the Great Debate community is, of course, the one you shared an 8-hour video with, Mr. ID. My video, the video that has the most views by like 10,000 viewers is R&R Debates Mr. ID. Maybe it's the way I titled it, maybe it's because it has R&R in it. It's painful to watch. It really is.
I don't know why you did that to yourself.
Okay.
I had Mr. ID on he came in the other night. I let him come in to play. Yeah. He was playing with Rags, if you know who Rags is.
Yes, yes. I've met Rags. Um, oh man, it was well, see, we did it originally because I didn't know who he was, and then Arn already agreed to it. Then we found out who he was, and then we were like, "Well, crap, we already agreed to it." So, so we'll just go ahead and go through with it.
You do realize that Mr. ID and Ken Hovind had a discussion, and Ken
Oh
Hovind
yeah, I
left
watched it.
because he was just crazy. So, and they're both younger creationists. What does that tell you?
Yeah, I watched it. Uh, oh well, but that's life, I guess.
Are you ignoring Savannah? Because she can chime in here too. I don't
I
want to
do.
like
I
this.
actually have something to
Hi,
say.
so she's like beaming to get in here.
It's because CGI is so expensive. To
I can
pay for a
imagine.
voice
Yeah,
actor
it must be
too
her
is
frame just
too
to do
much.
this. It must be a lot of work.
Yeah, he's really spending a lot of money right now. But I wanted to say that one of the things I appreciate most about the Great Debate community uh, is that it's such a great reference point for finding content creators. And there's such a wide variety of content between everyone who participates in it. And I really enjoy that. I've benefited from Jackson being a part of it.
I appreciate that. And that was one of the goals to begin with. We wanted to get content creators. Granted, things have diverged and changed, and the original concept has gone toward the non sequitur show. Everything I want to do with the GDC has gone toward the non sequitur show with Kyle.
And the non sec show is great.
Thank you. Thank you. She's a keeper. Keep this one.
Well, I've already had her for 2 years, so at this point, it seems it's like I can't really return her now.
Don't try to replace her, Jackson. Keep this one.
I'll just get more cats. All right,
more cats is good. Yeah,
but yeah. So the non sequitur show that has, as I tweeted once to Kyle, that has quickly become one of my favorite channels, because the one of the problems that I have sometimes with watching Great Debate Community is the tangents. Like, it's like you got a conversation and everyone's like debating this central topic, but then they'll go on a tangent for like 20 minutes or so, whatever. And and I still enjoyed the show overall. I really do. And it's just like, I kind of lose it a little bit. But with the non sequitur show, it's like you've got these two people just battling it out, and listening to them is great, even if I know one of them is completely bogus, or it's an interview with someone like you guys had. Oh, frick! The flat Earth guy who tricked Lawrence Krauss into doing.
Rick Delano.
Yes, I actually had a conversation with him on Facebook because he's a friend. Savannah, he's a friend of Charlie. Believe it or not. Wow. Of course he is.
Small world.
Yeah, because it's a flat world too. Because Charlie's a geocentrist. I didn't know he was a flat earther, but he hangs out in the company of flat earthers.
I talked to Rick Delano before when the movie The Principal came out, when it was on the Facebook page. I had conversations with him and a guy named Mark Wyatt, who actually produced the movie as well. And so I was asking them questions as well. But yeah, we're actually having Robert Sungenis on too. He's actually the bigger guy.
I really liked the one where you had, and I know I've forgotten these guys' names. You had, actually, I think it was Jeranism and someone else who was like a cartographer.
Oh, Kolowski.
Yes, yeah, I really enjoyed that one because they said they talked before, and so it was really intriguing listening to them, because we all know flat Earth is bogus. We can all show a number of different ways that it's bogus. We got like the really cool hard logic videos that just decimate it. It's absolute nonsense. But
I actually recommended those today at work to one of my coworkers.
Really?
Yeah, we have a cult that's been trying to solicit incoming freshmen to the college I work for. So we've encountered them all month.
Someone said, Savannah, please turn the camera 90 degrees. I don't know which direction that's a reference to.
Cutting off the top of her head, I think.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Savannah, get
the
shorter.
The top of my head is just hair.
Get shorter.
It's not exciting. Shorter? Like this?
Like,
I don't understand.
I think you're fine, Savannah. You look very nice. But anyways, of course I have to say that because you're my CGI creation. So
yeah.
He's very proud of his work.
I am.
He's very proud of what his money buys him.
Yeah.
Virtual girlfriend.
Virtual girlfriend. Yeah. Yeah, the oh, and I also even got to be a part of the non sequitur show that one time, and that was really cool. Getting to be one of the content creators on your questions for Christians or questions for theists. Sorry, and I thought that was really neat. And to be fair, if anyone knows like Stephanie Thomason, she was the only one whose stuff I actually read. I know I heard other whisperings of people who'd written responses or whatever. I just didn't see them. I didn't.
It was on her blog. I did read most of the responses on her blog.
Yeah.
They varied from, honestly, basically being non-answers to just complete batshit. So
Right.
I didn't really put my stock in them. I mean, one or two was good. I think IP tried. IP was the most cogent response in inspiring philosophy, but I think that like when he addressed my question, he didn't really get into the nuances of the question. And so, but at least he tried. I think he had a more cogent response, but I think that all of them danced around the questions, and some of them were just outright, I'm just going to avoid your question altogether and answer something completely tangentially unrelated. So,
right. Yeah. I thought I intentionally made what I thought was an easy question because I was like, this is the answer I believe that you guys should give me because I don't think any of you are nuts enough to think that the global flood actually happened. Lo, was I wrong. I mean, to be fair, I think I got 4 responses. 2 of them were like, it's just how God, it's just a metaphor for how God deals with people who don't obey his law. And that was pretty much the answer I was hoping for. I was expecting. Andrew Stradolates said, if it didn't happen, you wouldn't be talking about it. To which I was like,
yeah, I don't, these people and their reasoning abilities, it's just strange, right? If it didn't happen, that's kind of like, what was the name of that Vitalis, that force Vitalis that somebody had created one time? I can't remember the name of it was a vital force, and I can't remember what exactly the Latin name, something Vitalis. But basically his argument was, well, if this Vitalis didn't exist, you wouldn't be alive. Ergo, this Vitalis exists. It was just circular like that. What
my reasoning is circular because my reasoning is circular because
yeah.
It was I honestly, and I said this in my video, I don't think he said what he meant to say. I think maybe he had a brain fart and he typed the wrong thing. I honestly don't think he meant to say that you can only talk about something if there's evidence that it existed. Because I was like, can we talk about the Aztec god Quetzalcoatl? Can we talk about it?
Concepts don't exist. Like, they don't exist in reality. They're conceptual, but you can still talk about them. I can still talk about Superman. And Superman, I don't think anybody believes
Superman does exist, obviously.
Yeah. Then, Batman, however, that motherfucker's real.
Yeah, he goes and like visits. There's actually a guy who dressed up as Batman and has a car that looks like the Batmobile, and he goes and like visits.
Right.
Visits like I think cancer wards and stuff. It's really neat. I read about it like a long time ago.
Yeah, he does things for children. That exactly.
Yeah. Then there was one. I think J.J. Richards was the only one who was like, actually, there is archaeological evidence for the Ark. Here's a bunch of ancient stories that say there was an Ark.
Yeah.
He literally quotes like different. Like the one about Sennacherib going or ascending the mountain and getting a piece of the Ark. It's like, great. And I had to think about it later why that was the argument he gave me. And it dawned on me, they believe that what the Bible says is true. So it makes sense that they would just trust ancient sources. They would just trust them.
They do trust them outright. I mean, look at, like, I've had actual people argue to me and use citations from a movie that was about the Ark. I think it was on CBS.
Okay.
And the movie was just complete fake. I mean, they even hired a person to go out and make a nail that was all rusted and looked very old. And basically the guy, he won an award for the special effects because he soaked it in teriyaki sauce. And he did this weird stuff to make it look really archaic. And then they're saying, hey, here's one of the nails from like the Ark. It was completely bullshit, and they don't ever show it again. But people still quote that particular movie. It's like discovering Noah's Ark or something or other. But it was all bullshit, and yet they know this. It's all out there. It's been documented. The guy, like I said, the guy even won an award for special effects, and yet they still will quote that particular movie, and it's like, no, that was just complete fabrication.
That's awesome. That actually that reminds me. I'm not sure if you saw
the nail and the teriyaki sauce and all that.
No,
it was great. Yeah,
I'm good. I will be sure to look that up. That is awesome. That actually reminds me of this website that's kind of like The Onion. It's called the World News Daily Report. They wrote an article a few years ago. I think it was 3 years ago, about the remains of the Egyptian army found in the Red Sea from the story of Moses.
You have led perfectly into a topic. Continue.
Okay, Savannah, go ahead.
Because
one guy from our school who's a Christian brought that up to me, and I looked up the article, and I was like, "Dude, this is like the Onion website," and he was like, "Oh, well, it could be, you know." I was like,
"Well,
no.
I mean, G-Man did the same thing with the Smithsonian, right? I mean, he quoted during his debate with Dragon. He quoted right out of the World News Daily Net, whatever, which is just like the Onion, same thing. They have a disclaimer,
right?
Fictitious, and he's like, "Well, that," and Drew Pearson ran with it and said, "Well, that doesn't mean it couldn't have happened." Okay, you go with that, guys. You just go with that.
So
Savannah, what have you got to say for yourself?
This kid from my church in my adolescence, he's now in his 20s, and he posted something political on Facebook. Someone disagreed, and his response was about the validity of God's existence, and he quoted that exact same article, and he was like, well, this evidence was found, and that proves that God exists. And he said something equivalent to God made that happen so that we could sit around watching documentaries that explain to us how it happened. And that just made my day.
The mental gymnastics people have to go through. It was amazing. Great.
But no, he quoted that exact same thing today. So
that is great. Yeah, it was
a prevalent article.
Can I read this to you real quick? Because I just got this from Kyle. He got in his mail. This is actually from Dr. Robert Sungenis, the flat Earth, I was the geocentrist guy, right? The guy that made the movie The Principle. And I'll just paraphrase. He said, "I love these kind of debates. Just stumbled on your show last few weeks, and I've been addicted. You and Steve make LA traffic a breeze. Technology has solved the problem of boredom. Thanks for all you do." So people, I mean, they listen to our stuff while driving on LA traffic. And here's like the guy that wrote that movie that we're going to be having on. And here's the kicker: he's a geocentrist that's going to be having a debate against one of the leading flat earthers on YouTube. That what could go wrong there? Geocentrist versus flat earther.
Well, I think was it Logic who once said, and I think I'm attributing it to him because I think it was him, but I could be wrong. The people who fight the hardest against conspiracy theories are people of other opposing conspiracy theories. Mm-hmm. Like hollow earthers and flat earthers will go at it, and they will each deal out arguments that destroy each other. But then neither of them.
Protestants and the Catholics.
The Protestants and the Catholics, yeah, there you go. Yeah, they'll just destroy each other, and then like it will never dawn on them, hey, maybe the other guy's right about my position. You know?
Oh yeah, no. Different groups and different factions will go after each other viscerally, to say the least. Poor Robert's losing open for humanity. Hey, Robert, go look at Steve's Law. It's a real thing now. Steve's Law is the longer you spend on, or the amount of hope you lose is directly inversely proportional to the amount of time. Wait, I'm trying to think. I got to think of the actual law. Let me look it up here so I can read verbatim.
We have a citation.
We have a citation. Here we go. Steve's Law is: the amount of hope that one has left for humanity is inversely proportional to the amount of time one spends on YouTube or the internet in its broadest application of the law. And don't tell me that doesn't happen. The longer you spend on YouTube or the internet, the more hope the less hope you have for humanity. It's just diminishing and diminishing. It may have a little bump every now and then, like we have that chaplain on today, or that gay preacher, whatever, theist guy. He was awesome. A little bit of hope goes up, but then just tomorrow's going to be right back down again. It's just plunging. It will never rise for any long period of time.
Right. We that I totally believe that. Savannah, thoughts?
You have to replenish your hope with cat videos.
Cat videos.
There we
Trying to
go.
get back up the hill.
You kid, but I actually the other day I was watching cat and dog and funny videos just so I could have a little bit of joy in my life. It was cute, very cute. I gotta admit.
My videos also exist to bring joy to all the world's peoples.
And they do.
Yes, because we all want to know about whale penis.
Someone posted a picture of like an echidna penis the other day, and then someone tagged Vice Rhino and me in it, and they were like, "These two know things about penises." We were like, and I
Ironically,
just
I've actually seen pictures before of echidna penises, so it wasn't a big shocker. But it's just like
I posted it in my video on baculum evolution because I was like, "Hey, monotremes don't have bacula, but they got this weird crap going on."
They don't have
like,
the bone.
This monstrosity, yeah, which is really funny because platypus penis, only the two left heads work because only the left ovary works in the female, which is like intelligent design, I guess.
The platypus we already know is all fucked up. I mean, the male
There you
has
go.
a little hook thing, toe thing that has poison and stuff. It's like, what is that needed for?
That was Piggle Pig Swill Bucket. He was the one who tagged Vice and me. Thank you. We approve and appreciate.
Piggle's awesome.
Yeah, he is awesome. He has requested a few videos in the past.
We should do it for him because he's a big fan.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We have two more topics to cover, and we're already. Well, I don't know how long you plan on. I don't know how long you want to go.
I never wanted to be in here in the beginning, so from the first place.
Well, we're already done. All right. Good night, everyone. No.
Yeah.
Do you want to just
talk to Savannah for a while? I don't mind.
That's how I feel.
I'm up for a good chat.
You know, she doesn't intimidate me as much as you do, Jackson. I'm sure she's very knowledgeable and very intelligent, but you know, I don't feel comfortable talking biology with Jackson because I just feel like I'm an idiot. I just completely do.
You're not an idiot, Steve.
I feel the exact same way.
So let's talk about some normal stuff, Savannah. How about football or something? I don't know.
World Cup.
I don't actually follow it. It's just more normal. That's all.
It's like, let's have the appearance of talking about normal things.
Yeah, exactly.
We can talk about.
I want to feel average. Just I like mediocrity in me.
All right,
it's okay.
Steve. I got a question for you. After the interview, would you be interested in doing another chat, but with Sentinel Apologetics joining, or would you want to go to bed and whatnot?
Oh, I don't care.
Sentinel, you hear that?
It's only 9 o'clock.
Okay, well, all right, fine. Savannah, what do you say? You want to join me for that?
I don't know what role I could play, but maybe.
You can hold up the sign, like the round 1 sign, walk across the stage. Is that too sexist, Savannah? I'm sorry.
Yeah, definitely. Don't worry, we'll put you in a bikini and we'll make you do it.
You're okay and allowed to say things like that, Jackson. Trust me.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so
my girlfriend looks hot in a bikini. She'll come out and say, "Yeah, round 1, hell's yeah." I used to do it all the time, dude. It's fine.
You used to go out in a bikini all the time?
No, I used to have girlfriends.
Okay.
And they look good in bikinis. Go look at my Facebook. I did well back in the day. I know.
Well, I was about to be very intrigued by pictures of Steve in a bikini.
Yeah, you know what? You want ratings to go up or down? Because
I think they go up, definitely.
Well, if I bring Enzo in, because he's right over here, we can bring him back.
Now, yeah, Robert in a bikini, that's fine. Yeah, people want to see that shit. Yeah, it's scrumptious.
So I do want to ask, Steve in a bikini would be intriguing. Quote, Piggle's
a sick man.
Okay. So this is a topic I want to ask you about. This is one of the topics I had written originally. Was about your, drumroll please, your hair. No, your agnosticism. So tell us a little bit about your agnosticism, because I know that you have to fight a lot of people who don't understand, what you mean when you say it, or they say, as Dave Silverman says, just call yourself an atheist, things like that. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Okay. Well, start off. Like science, I generally, when talking to people, I use scientific terminology, and even in casual conversations. For example, if somebody says, "Hey, the theory of evolution," That's a scientific phrase. That means that the scientific theory of evolution, that means evolution is a well-established, confirmed model based upon evidence and facts that has been tested time and time again and shown to have predictability and the ability to explain phenomenon. So that's what we mean by that. So that's a scientific term. Now, of course, creationists go, oh, well, theory is just a guess, colloquially, right? And they wouldn't be wrong, right? So there's various ways to define words. When words like Gnosticism is polysemous, which means it has multiple definitions, and the formal definitions, the ones you actually find in the literature, in philosophy, in Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, is basically Gnosticism is the psychological position of being agnostic on a proposition. A fancy way of just saying, I suspend judgment on the proposition. I don't evaluate it. I don't say it's true. I don't say it's false. And so there are colloquial definitions. There's a Huxleyan definition of agnosticism. I have a guy on Twitter all the time. He's called militant agnostic, and he believes you only can use the Huxleyan form of agnosticism, or else you're diminishing his memory, and you're denigrating the memory of Huxley, which I think is strange, but whatever. I'm like, I can use it any way I want if that's how it's used in the literature today, not as it was 100 some odd years ago. And so I'm an agnostic, meaning that when I see the proposition of God, which is at least one God exists, or theism, I don't evaluate it. I don't say theism is right. I don't say theism is wrong. And yes, atheism in philosophy is the rejection of theism. It is the belief that theism is wrong. It is the belief that the proposition is false. It is the belief that ontologically there are no gods in the universe. Any one of those is what philosophical atheism means. There's really no debate about that. I mean, it used to be 2 years ago in the Great Debate community, people were up in arms about that. But then the vast majority looked into this and said, okay, fuck, you guys are right. We don't accept that. We don't accept the formal definitions, what's called the sensu stricto or sensu strictissimo. They don't accept them. They like the colloquial definitions, which is fine. That's a completely different argument. But in philosophy, atheism is the belief that God does not exist, basically, or gods don't exist. So when people in the general communities out there, like the Austin communities of atheists and Silverman communities and American atheists, they accept the colloquial definition, which is anybody who just doesn't have a belief in the God. And many of them that I've talked to will say, well, I'm an atheist because I don't think the theists have made their arguments. There's not enough evidence for the theist's argument, right? Which in one case can borderline being what's called an argument from ignorance, which they don't want to accept. If I say there's not enough evidence to accept the proposition of God, therefore God does not exist, that is an argument for ignorance. That's not the same as saying, though, there's not enough evidence for God, therefore I provisionally take the position that gods don't exist, or I don't accept the proposition. That's different, right? That's a completely different proposition. If I'm making a conclusion that God does not exist based upon the falsity not being the case, then that is an argument from ignorance. So you got to be careful with that. So when a colloquial atheist says, I just don't have a belief in God because the theist hasn't made their case, that is the same exact position as an agnostic for the most part. There is no difference. So the way Cyrus the skeptic puts it, and I think he's spot on in this, he calls himself a colloquial atheist, philosophical agnostic, because all colloquial atheists, if they're not a strong atheist, meaning they don't assert there's no gods or believe there's no gods, they're agnostic as far as philosophy is concerned. If they've evaluated the proposition and suspended it, because there's a slight difference between suspending judgment and then not evaluating, right? If you've never heard of the proposition of theism, you didn't suspend judgment on it. You're not agnostic on the proposition. The proposition is not evaluated, right? So I'm just a philosophical agnostic because I hold the same reasoning that a colloquial atheist would be. I don't see enough evidence to support believing gods that exist, and I don't see enough evidence to support there are no gods. That's as simple as that. And that's what most colloquial atheists are by those lack of belief definitions. It's the same thing, just called different. That's all. Simple.
Right. Yeah, I've seen lots of your conversations with people arguing over what the definition of agnostic is have shown up in my feed. You know.
Well, I think by now people kind of understand it. I mean, I get there's a few holdouts that are just so ingrained in their ideology, and they're so just, oh, you know what, American atheist and atheist experience, they're just putting out the right stuff. And then when you ask any of them, well, can you go verify any of this? Can you give me sources that are from philosophical sources in the literature? Never, not once. You know, and so they don't realize they're committing the same fallacious reasoning that they criticize theists of doing and creationists of doing. They're holding to an ideology rather than looking at what is actually in the literature.
Right. I actually, it was fairly recently actually, that I kind of realized the value of not necessarily calling oneself an atheist, because I went to because thanks to a video that Paul did with the guy from Stated Clearly, Perry, isn't that his
Awesome.
name? Yeah. So Perry says at one point in the video, seek out groups in your area that who are like-minded, whatever. And so I did. That prompted me to look up, because I was in Baton Rouge at the time, and so I looked up found the Baton Rouge Freethinkers, and I went to one of their meetings because it was right at the end of the school year, and so I was right about to move back to Shreveport. So I went to one of their meetings, and it was really neat. And one of everyone there was older than me, fairly substantially. But one of the things that I had heard from a few of the people there was, I am here in part because it's not called the Baton Rouge Atheists. If that term, I wouldn't say that term applies to me, even though of course they would say, colloquially speaking, they are an atheist, whatever, but they prefer freethinker, humanist, secularist, whatever. And actually, this was right before Silverman got nabbed, of his own doing, of course. But the two of the people who were in the group had gone to a talk that he had done, where he said, "Hey, if you identify as anything where you don't believe in God, just say you're an atheist. Just say it." It's like people don't always want to say that. It's especially if you're in places like where Savannah and I are. If you're in the South, it's really not easy for a lot of people to say that. It's much safer to say you're a free thinker or humanist or whatever, rather than just come out and say you're an atheist. Or, Julia Sweeney's mom, I understand you not believing in God, but an atheist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
And I'm so glad you say that. And let me touch on that if I can, because I think what you said is of critical importance. Look at, I always maintain, again, this is my belief. This is my personal argument. It has nothing to do with the fact that atheism in philosophy is what I said it was, right? That's established truism. That's just a fact anybody can validate. But here's my opinion on this. I think atheists shoot themselves in the foot when they want people to self-identify as atheists that don't want to self-identify as atheists. Now, I understand the reasoning to get atheism normalized. Totally understand that. That is a legit point that somebody could make. They want to make atheism a word that people don't need to be afraid of, that people don't have any kind of angst against, or hostility or animosity, or people that are atheists can become president of the United States. That's fine. I get all that. Good argument. But I think they actually have a backfiring effect, because what happens is people like myself and other agnostics and people that know philosophy a little bit, or epistemology, or that in your cases that don't want to self-identify for whatever reason, those people are being subsumed under the colloquial definition of atheism inappropriately. And it's no different than a theist saying, well, you know what? Hey, Jackson, you're actually a theist because in Romans it says God has imprinted himself on your heart and you're just denying yourself in unrighteousness. There is no difference. When an atheist tells me I'm an atheist, they're doing the same fallacy that a theist is doing. And they don't seem to realize that, because I have a pretty well-established epistemological framework. I haven't just jumped into this. I've been researching this for quite a while. I like to build a good framework. I want to be reasonable. I want to be informed of these things. So for them to label me something that I'm not, it's just dishonest. It's just blatantly dishonest. Now they can say, Steve, well, colloquially you're an atheist. And I'll be like, yeah, okay, fine. But I reject colloquial definition. So what's the point? So what? I mean, if I don't use that definition, if I don't think it has utility, then it's just meaningless to try to say, well, hey, Steve, you're a colloquial atheist. Well, whatever. So what? Big deal. But you know what? Philosophically, I'm an agnostic. See the mind games that they try to play? And because they've been so indoctrinated and so ingratiated into this narrative that all atheists are just people that lack a belief. But here's the problem. Lacking a belief in philosophy only gets you so far. Okay, it is a necessary precondition to be a philosophical atheist, but it's not a sufficient condition. It's yes, one thing all atheists have in common is they all do not have a God belief. That is true. But you know what? I can say the same thing about agnostics, same thing about non-theists, same things about apatheists, same things about ichtheists or theological and cognitivist. None of them have a God belief.
That sounds like someone who worships fish.
Fish, yeah.
I'm a
Whenever-
pescatarianist.
I think they made a joke about. They're making a joke about that in that new movie with Jeremy Renner. Is it pescatarian or whatever?
Yeah.
They go to. I don't even remember the joke, but it's like
You would
that's
bring up
Episcopalian.
that movie.
It looks really good.
Pescatarian alien, yeah. But it's funny, is like I said, I talked to Matt Dillahunty before our show with him a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to make sure that I had a position right, even though I pretty much did. That the term like atheist, some agnostic atheist, if you're using that in the colloquial sense of atheism, as an atheist dislikes a belief, it is a nonsensical statement. It is epistemically unsound. And Matt totally agrees with that. He actually even said that to Anthony Magnabosco in a video. And that's a point a lot of atheists don't even recognize. They're like, even Matt Dillahunty says to them, no, don't call yourself an agnostic atheist if you're using atheist in the negative sense, in the meaning the colloquial version, because it is epistemically unsound. And why be an unreasonable thinker? I mean, it makes no sense when these people, use something that is unsound I shouldn't say logically, rationally, because if you have a non-position, if you say that I don't believe in God, you don't have a position on the topic then. And knowledge is a subset of belief. So if you don't even have a belief position, you're non-didactically saying something, then how do you epistemically modify it? How do you say, well, no, I don't believe in God, but I don't know I don't believe in God? It makes no sense. It's just a nonsensical statement to say agnostic atheist. And if you're using it in a hard sense, it's just superfluous. It's redundant, because what's the difference between an agnostic atheist and an atheist? They're the same thing. An atheist says, I don't believe in God, or I believe gods don't exist, but I don't know it. And an agnostic atheist would say, I believe gods don't exist, but I don't know it. It's the same thing in philosophy. They mean exactly identical.
It's funny you brought up that knowledge is a subset of belief, because Savannah, do you remember the Hindu guy? There's a group of Bhakti Hindus at LSU who hand out. For anyone who doesn't know, Bhakti Hindus are creationists in a sense, but they think the Earth is like really old, if I remember correctly, but that we didn't evolve.
This is the gentleman who talked about the spirit in the trees.
Yes, they believe. I think if I remember correctly, they believe that the Earth is really old, but we didn't evolve from anything else. We've been like humans for the past millions of years or something like that. It's really, I don't remember a whole lot about it, but I got a book from them and I read part of it. It's called The Science of Self-Realization. Absolute nonsense. It's by Swami Prabhupada. I think actually Aaron has talked about the Bhakti Hindus a little bit before in some of his videos. But anyways, so I tried explaining to this guy, because he was saying, I don't believe that the Vedas were inspired by whatever god it was. I know it. I don't believe it. I know it. So I was like, well, actually, knowledge is a subset of belief. So you have to believe it to know it.
Well, hang on. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Hang on, let me fix this real quick.
And so it was oh, Sentinel Apologetics says, yeah, dinosaurs are with us today. I absolutely agree with that. They're called birds. Anyways, but
I was gonna say real quick, it would make more sense to say I don't believe in God because I know God doesn't exist. Somebody could actually logically say that. That wouldn't be. I don't obviously subscribe to that position, but it wouldn't be unsound to say I don't believe in gods because I know gods do not exist. That would make sense, because if you know gods do not exist, you inherently it entails you do not believe in gods, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Was there
this is weird.
By the way, it looks like the live feed's going nuts.
Oh, they're well, Matt Clark is going to bed. Good night. And
good night, Mark. Good night, Mark.
So yeah. Also, it's really strange. It says like that you're muted, but I can hear you.
I don't know. I just turned it on and off for a second.
Okay. I thought I could hear you while it said you were muted. And I wondered if it was like because
it was just slow.
2 different mics on. But anyways, okay. So what?
So
what did you say, dude?
Jackson, whenever you first started to consume Steve's content, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm consuming all the content.
So whenever you started consuming Steve's content, I remember you like sitting on your bed in your dorm room, and you were like, "Well, am I atheist or am I agnostic?" Because you know, for you being an atheist was such a big
Are you talking about
transition.
when Sawyer called?
Perhaps it might have been around that same time, but I remember you were like, okay, well, as a communicator, as an educator, how do I want to identify myself? And then you thought about it for days, and you would just like, we'd be at dinner and you just bring it up, and then you'd let it, you know, ebb away. And eventually you were like, well, this is how I'm going to identify. But afterwards, your understanding of different people's positions and of how to utilize or like communicate your own beliefs was so improved. And you were so much more understanding towards people whenever they expressed hesitation and stuff. So I just really appreciate that conversation as a whole for how it changed your attitude towards others.
So you mean
And
he actually took on board some of the things I had said?
yeah.
Wow.
I do remember that. I
Who
told
does that? What's wrong with you people?
I was like, I was seriously fighting in my head over whether I was an atheist or agnostic. And I was like, well, I do positively believe that there are no gods, so I will call myself an atheist.
Yeah, but
And
for
so-
you, going from religion to non-religion was already like such a big thing. It was like atheist was the only thing because
Right.
it was the most well known for your position. And so you were like, well, there are all these other things I could use, all these other tools I could use to describe my position, and it was just like a whole new world.
Yeah, you
It
know
was
what?
very
That's
exciting.
another thing I think they shoot that's why I said that, you know, these new atheists shoot themselves in the foot. And you know, Ozzy makes the same argument as well, that look, when people leave religion and people leave theism, or, you know, leave theism, a lot of them don't want to jump right into atheism. They don't, for the stigmatic
Right.
reason. And I get that. And yes, even though everybody wants the term atheism normalized, there might still be a stigma in some places. So and so they might even not feel that that's the right position for them. You know what? No, I don't mind the label of an atheism, but you know what? I'm not an atheist. I like philosophy, and I do think that I fall more under agnostic. The agnosticism gives them a transition. It gives them, you know what? I can leave theism, but I can maintain an agnostic position, and then over time, as I learn better atheist arguments, maybe I'll become an atheist, you know, strong atheist. Now, I do know a lot of atheist arguments. Of course, they're not fully convincing me, but they're not bad arguments. I mean, there are some good atheist arguments out there. So if somebody says I'm a strong atheist, I have a positive belief that God does not exist, it's not that hard to justify. It really isn't. As a matter of fact, I do believe that an atheist, a strong atheist, has a much easier epistemic justification than a theist.
Mm-hmm.
So because a theist has to learn things like, I mean, one way a theist could justify the position was what's called reformed epistemology from Plantinga. But how many theists do you know bothered to learn stuff like that? Not very many.
Well, they
So-
like throwing Plantinga's arguments around, but I guess not his epistemology.
I don't think they really fully understand Plantinga's, and I don't fully understand him either. But I can tell you right now, some of his arguments not that good. Not that
Well, I mean, from listening to Matt Dillahunty, because Matt was one of the first. Matt, Aaron Ra, and interestingly, the Amazing Atheist were like the first three people I encountered and consumed when I started watching YouTube videos. That it was those three, and then I found out about others. Matt eventually mentioned like Steve Shives in a video, and I started watching his series and Atheist Reads. Ran into Jacqueline Glenn and Logic, and you know all the rest, and it just kind of, and now here I am.
Yeah, now you're part of the big leagues. You're getting up there.
I'd like to think so, but we have, like I said, I don't know how. I don't know.
You have to keep him in check. You're his grounding, okay, Savannah. Don't make sure he doesn't like, you know, become like another armored skeptic or something. I'm just kidding. I like Greg, but Greg's a little bit of a narcissist. Let's be realistic here. Come on, armored skeptic.
It's okay. Yeah. I think everyone who gets to that many subscribers, they justify a little bit of narcissism.
I agree. I can't fault him for it.
Anyway, so the like I said, I don't know how long you want to go on, but with this one, but you mentioned and it's funny you mentioned this earlier. Actually, someone in the chat mentioned Matt Powell. So,
Mr. Matt Powell,
you have a history with Matt Powell. I have a history with Matt Powell. Let's discuss.
Well, as you know, like we had Matt Powell on. He originally had a discussion on Scholar Fiction's channel talking about the execution of gays and kids that were unruly. And of course, you know, he got a lot of flack for that, as well as he should. And he came on the Non Sequitur show and kind of reiterated the same kind of diatribe with Russell Glasser from the Atheist Experience. And he was recently on my channel, and we had talked about Hovind and his scientific claims in the 9th edition Creationist Notebook. And I took some time to go through a couple different claims. I think we managed 3 or 4. Not as many as I had liked to, but it's a domino effect, right? And I said, okay, well, let's start, with these claims. And I had walked him through with his own research. He can actually go Google this stuff to find out that Hovind's claims were wrong. The citations were wrong. The claim was outright wrong. And it's funny because I got a message from Matt this morning saying, hey, Steve, I looked, nothing privacy here because I know people, this is all public stuff, because I told him, I want to know how you research this, and other people want to know as well. So he has said he has actually looked into this. He has actually realized that I was correct. These claims are in error. Hovind was wrong in the claims. He admitted that. But then he puts a video up on his channel about this other preacher that talking about, quote, now wrap your head around this, guys, quote, carbon dating, scientists claim carbon dating shows the Earth is billions of years old.
I saw part of that. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, let's think about this. Everybody out there, I want you to really think about what's being said here. Scientists claim that carbon dating dates the Earth billions of years old. Anybody who has ever been around YouTube know about these topics knows carbon dating can't be used to date the age of the Earth. It's just the half-life isn't long enough. Now, I wrote him on a video a pretty long summation of why that's the case, but he's filtering his comments, so my comment doesn't show up. Now, if you want to see my comment, you can go to my public Google page, and you can actually see my comment. I put it on the Great Debate Community, and I also put it on my public Google page if you want to show it to everybody. And I haven't done this for 25 years, but if somebody wants to check my math and my physics, please do, because again, I have not done this stuff for 25 years. So I might be a little off, but I think I got the gist right. But I still like to be double checked, but I'll give you to here. So
yeah.
Show that.
Okay. I will put that in.
We have a physicist in the live chat, so maybe he can check it out. What did he say?
Which one is it?
Here?
Can you translate robot for me?
Oh, I'm sorry. Do I sound like a robot?
You did. You're good now. Okay.
Okay. Crap. I knew this would happen eventually. Who's our physicist?
Sentinel Apologetics. He is an actual physicist.
Oh, I'm aware that he is checking his comments because his video paleontology disproves evolution or something like that, where he spells it Palien.
Well,
his video.
What happens is when you put filters comments on, you have to manually approve comments, and so my comment isn't being approved. He didn't delete it; he just hasn't approved it, and I don't think he will. But I mean, I think it's kind of an intellectually dishonest approach when he puts a video out there, and the video says something freaking as stupidly dumb as, "Oh, scientists say carbon dating could be used to date the Earth billions of years old." No, that's just mind-bogglingly stupid, and everything else in that video is wrong too. So. But it's just weird because he tells me, yes, Steve, you're right. You were right about these claims. Hovind was wrong. But at the same time, he puts a video up that doesn't have the ability for people to redress and give explanations. And yet he's actually telling people in the video, not in the video, but in the video, the comments, yeah, this is what they believe, blah, blah. Jungle Jargon left something like, oh, well, yeah, but radiocarbon dating can't be used for anything over than 5,000, not 50,000, but 5,000 years. And, Matt's underneath him going, yeah, that's right. And I'm like, you two people are fucking stupid and should not be talking to people about science in general. I mean, Jungle Jargon is just dumb as fuck to begin with. Matt I like, but he's scientifically inept. Beyond scientifically inept. And I'm like, look, guys, I've been out of this stuff for years, and even I am far, far and way removed, no expert on anything. I barely have a tangential understanding of most topics. But I like these topics. But for these guys who don't know the basic shit, like carbon dating is 50,000 to 100,000 years, give or take. It's certainly not 5,000 years. And for Matt not even recognize that Jungle Jargon screwed that up, it just tells you where these guys are on their educational level of science. They're inept. So I think they're doing themselves a disservice, and I think that the people need to be know more about these guys. Just butchering science for their own agenda. It's just lying for Jesus to me at this point.
Yeah, I have to agree with one of the really weird things is his claim that like we shouldn't know how much hydrogen the sun is consuming. I mean, who is arguing that? You know?
The problem is most of these people just will give a straw man. For example, like the guy on Twitter today, he's like, "Well, show me a a prokaryote that came out of nowhere that just self-assembled itself." And I'm like, nobody suggests that. Nobody even says that's possible. Why would you think that a prokaryote just self-assembled? I mean, you're missing a lot of steps before you get to even a prokaryote.
Right.
And so I said, why don't you look into these topics? And I was like, wait, look at, why don't you look at what ATP synthase is? With, look at a lipid membrane, look at look at an RNA self-replicator, look at what a modern eukaryote ribosome does, right? Look at the 60S subunits, large subunits, and see in there how ribosomes do the catalytic functions for the peptides that come out of the ribosome to form the protein. Look at that kind of stuff. Just, everything basically you've all learned in biology. If you don't have even an understanding of how any of that works, you don't know what a codon is, you don't know the difference between RNA and DNA, you have not disproved evolution. You have not disproved abiogenesis. You don't have the skill set to even come close to disproving this stuff. And this is the type of argument I'm trying to explain to people.
I agree.
You can't do it. You're deluding yourself. It's like Mr. Intelligent Design thinking, I have disproved the theory of evolution. Excuse me, a theory of gravity. No, you haven't.
Yeah, his
straw man's.
Yeah, in my conversation with him, when Cranium asks Matt, what is first and foremost? So, what is your biggest issue with evolution? Matt says, well, carbon dating. It's like, this has nothing to do with population genetics.
God damn thing.
This has nothing to do with evolutionary biology. This has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, well, I even asked one person, I said, he says, oh, all these different, 80% of radiometrics give up different dates for the age of the Earth. I'm like, well, can you name me some? He mentions things like dendrochronology. And I'm like, that's not even a long half-life radioactive isotope. That's tree rings. What the hell are you talking about? But they don't answer direct questions. They'll have a straw man, and then they'll just build upon trying to refute that straw man. And you're trying to explain to them, that's not what I'm asking. I want to know what isochron dating method you're suggesting doesn't show an age of the Earth around 4.5 million years. Because guess what? They all do.
Right. Well, I mean, they would have to first understand how we know, I think they would have to first understand what radiometric dating is, how we can understand, how it works, things like that. And you can show them pages and pages of research, but they're not going to read it. As I asked Matt in our conversation, because he brought up soft tissue, and I know a little bit about the research on soft tissue because I read a little bit of it. Oh, whoops. Sorry about that, Robert. I will get on that quick, fast, and in a hurry. Actually, you're going to be on the next video anyways. We're going to end this one, then you'll be on that one. Okay.
You want to show my response to Matt before you
yes,
go to the next one, so people can see that I actually did write something to Matt. It's not up there yet. It might be what he might add it. He didn't delete it, so he could actually approve it on. But as of right now, it's not on that video.
Okay, yeah, I will open that. So in my conversation with him, I asked him, because he brought up radiometric dating, or not radiometric dating, he brought up dinosaur soft tissue, and we were talking a little bit about that. I was like, none of the paleontologists who've discovered soft tissue think it proves that the Earth is young. Have you read about it? And he said, oh no, I don't really read that stuff. But even though he had said repeatedly throughout the course of the conversation, I read secular research. And then the two times I asked him about secular research, one of his quotes, which came from a vertebrate paleontology textbook, was fake. The quote didn't exist. And then the other one, he admitted that he didn't actually read the research on the topic that he's arguing about. So it's like, you're 0 for 2 right now.
One of the first things I ask people when they bring up Mary Schweitzer's work, did you read any of her papers? Did you at least read one? And if they say no, the conversation is pretty well done at that point.
Right. They watched, Eric Hovind.
Yeah, we had to read it. I mean, we did it on air. I mean, I'm not saying that I understood her paper, but we at least went over a little bit, and we kind of with Jade and a few other people, and I tried to understand it on my own. But it's complex stuff. I mean, I'm not a paleontologist. I'm not a biologist. I don't have the aptitude to read a scientific paper and fully understand, but I get the gist, and I can sure read like books like The Dinosaur Blood and the Age of Earth by Fuzz who sent me a copy to read as a layperson to see if I would have thought of it, and that was good. So I understand the concepts. I understand her work conceptually, but the details, no, I'll leave that for the experts. But he doesn't even know conceptually what it is. He doesn't know what they found. He these things. Oh, well, they discovered red blood cells. Well, no, Mary Schweitzer said she didn't discover red blood cells. Well, according to some expert like Matt and the rest of them, oh, well, yes, she did. Well, she claims she didn't. So you calling her a liar? In fact, she said she didn't have the data to support that. Or I love when they say, well, she was threatened at her work and they were, she was afraid of her job. And, when I asked her about that, Dr. Schweitzer was like, I didn't even have a career at the job. What was there to be scared of? I had no career. I couldn't lose anything. And so they're basically fostering this fictitious narrative just to promote their ideological agenda. And I, again, think that's grossly dishonest.
Right. I agree with that entirely. All right, everyone, watch out for the porn, but here we go. Okay, this is Steve's comment on Matt Powell's video. If I can, how the heck am I supposed to do this? Can I just touch it with my finger? Nope. Oh, there it goes. Okay.
Yeah, basically what I just did is I basically derived the formulas used, which is it's a basic exponential equation.
Yes, I remember this formula from
raised to the RT, right? Everybody knows the compound formula. This is kind of how you get it by taking rate, and it is basically a constant, the amount of change of amount over the change of time. And so I just did a simple mathematical thing, and I kind of checked it with other sources because I want to show him what it actually entails, right? And then I kind of show him, look at if you have 0.235% of this left, which I didn't know that number, but I wanted to purposely get 50,000 years. That shows that at 50,000 years, how little of the material is actually left, 0.236 or whatever it is. That's almost insignificant. You can only do about 10 half-lives of carbon dating with carbon-14 because there's just not enough material left of the original extant material, or what's called endogenous material, to test anything. It's not there anymore. So when they make this argument, which is a straw man, which was trying to point out, that scientists say that you can use carbon dating to date the age of the Earth for the billions of years old, I'm showing him how dumb that fucking is, because no scientist would ever say that, because after billions of years, there is no carbon left. There's not even, look at what number I came up with, and I could be off on it. I took the K factor to be 0.000120, which is about right. You may say it written as 0.000121, 0.001219, whatever in that ballpark. I did it on Wolfram Alpha to get the number, but so I'm pretty sure that K constant is right. But if you take 1 gram and you see over billions of years, 4.5 billion years, how much do you think carbon is going to be left, guys?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
It's like 10 raised to the negative 150,000 something, whatever it came out to be. It's some ridiculously low amount, which is
10 to the negative, what is that, 234,520?
Yeah, it's zero. Okay,
which is in reality here 0 atoms of carbon left. I like that.
Yeah, again, we have a physicist in the live chat. Hey, Robert, let me ask you, in your expertise, how much carbon-14, endogenous carbon-14, is left in a 1 gram after 4.5 billion years? I want to see Robert's answer, because he's a physicist, so let's get the expert.
Yeah, I tried to go at it because I'm not especially good with math. I tried to go at it from a different direction, tried to appeal to something he was familiar with. I told him about how carbon dating is actually used to date passages in the Bible to show the age of that, like how you might have, a fragment of an early biblical text and you use carbon dating on it to show it was from the 2nd century AD, right? Stuff like that. So I tried to use that to appeal to him in that sense, and I guess it really didn't take at all. Because actually Savannah and I saw a whole movie about it titled Fragments of Truth.
Yes,
you remember that? Savannah? Yeah. It was
yes, I do.
The movie was intriguing. The whole premise of it was the Bible has retained its basically the same storyline over the past 2,000 years or so, with basically no changes. And then at the very end, they're like,
okay.
Well, then at the very end, they're like, see, look at how true it is. And it's like, wait, you never made that case.
It was a wild movie, definitely.
Yeah, they had this whole. Oh, go ahead, dear.
Oh, I was just going to say it had the highest turnout, I think, of church participants of any of the religious theme movies we've gone to see.
You think so?
Yes.
What about Paradise Lost? That one had a lot of
Paradise
people.
Lost had less people
Really?
than Fragments of... Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Huh.
Because our theater was reserved for like 9 or something, and there ended up being
No, that was
about 9 of us.
Alien Intrusion.
Oh, you're right.
Paradise, actually, only 7 of us turned out for that one. Of the 9 people, only 7 turned out. Alien Intrusion was garbage.
Okay,
It
Jess.
sounds like a bad porn.
Attack it.
Oh my god, there was some stuff
is
in
a
it that
good
was like that could be porn. It was very funny.
Yeah, not my thing.
One of the things was Savannah. Okay, so there was one guy who was like, he was in his bed, so like they're fairly
No, you're right.
they're fairly old.
No.
They're older people, and so he's like, so he's asleep. His wife's asleep next to him, and he says the alien took like a stick and put it up my rectum and started waving me around the room.
It happens.
He was clearly very emotionally distraught. So it was the most awkward story ever because Jack and I just looked at each other in this very quiet, very serious atmosphere. We were like, how do we not laugh? This is wild.
Strange. Okay.
He was like, it waved him around like a puppet or something. It's a great story.
Yeah,
it was on that one.
It was ridiculous because they at the very end the altar call was all the people they had brought in to tell their alien stories were like, yep, they were demons and we have denounced them in the name of Jesus.
Of course they were demons. Well, did you ever see what was it Arthur C. Clarke that wrote Childhood End, where the alien race came down and they didn't show themselves for a very long time?
Oh
and,
yeah.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, if you guys haven't seen Childhood End, turn it off now, jump ahead in 30 seconds. But they ended up being, aliens that look like Satan. They had the tail and the horns and the redness, and that's where the mythos came from. They had been here before, but people still didn't, adopt them as aliens. They still thought that they were like demons and devils, but that's where the mythology came from.
Yeah,
it was a great story by him.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's like they come to kind of take care of us in a sense.
Yeah, they were like historians or something like that. Like I guess the Earth was like doomed to die or something, and they're just trying to get the last information. If I remember the story right, I read the book and I also saw the movie, but
yeah. Oh, I did not see the movie. I don't know if I knew there was a movie. Oh well, but
from what I remember, Fragments of Truth was very geared towards the already accepting audience. Like there was not a second of that movie that I thought was trying to convince me of anything.
No, so now they're all like that. Every one of those movies is already they're made to keep the person believing that. Like look at Genesis Paradise Lost, right? That was promoted as the movie to convince the unbeliever. Then when you asked, okay, well, do you have any statistics of how many unbelievers were converted? There aren't any. There's probably nobody. There was probably none that were converted by the movie. It was to placate the young Earth creationists.
It was trash.
And in both movies, they isolate any group that's not Christian.
Yes.
And how they talk about other people, they're if not derogatory, then they make them out to be an other. So that's already not attracting the right audience, Yeah,
no. It was just. And by the way, how much money do you think he made off that? Do you think he gave a shit whether it converted people or not? I mean, it would have been nice because he gets more converts, but no,
he made like over $1 million, didn't he? Just over $1 million,
well,
something like that.
The movie itself, I'm sure he got a pretty good chunk out of it. But
okay,
yeah, it's a business. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, they at least tried to make arguments. I mean, they didn't jump from we're talking about this subject to, hey, look how right we are, like Fragments of Truth, because they literally completely switched gears at the end of the movie. Because the whole movie, which I actually found to be fairly interesting because they talked about using carbon dating and cross-checking it with the type of writing in each fragment, how you can tell, okay, this fragment or this type of writing dates to the early 200s or whatever, and carbon dating says, this fragment dates to between 150 AD and 250 AD, stuff like that. And so it was really intriguing that they kind of they talked about these things cross-checking each other, which is really funny because young Earth creationists were talking about the movie on social media, and it's like, well, they don't really like carbon dating, so. But yeah, it also.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, dear.
I enjoyed the professor talking at the end, and I don't know who he was, but he was like the orator for the movie. kept trying to ask him leading questions like, oh, well, would you say that this document would validate this belief? And the research was like, I think that'd be very liberal. It's not something I would say, so he would just keep smacking down the leader. And obviously he agrees with the position of the movie. He wasn't in any way
Right. He wasn't in there because he
that.
didn't know what he was doing. Right.
Yeah, but he was also like, as a scholar, this is not something that I would support. That's a very far-fetched thing. Yeah.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I kind of appreciate
I was like,
that.
that's kind of cute. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of appreciate that about him because everyone in Paradise Lost was on the AIG payroll. Every single one of them.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Except maybe,
I can't watch
maybe
this kind of
Comfort.
thing. I can't watch it. I just can't. It's like people say, "Hey, read this creationist book" or whatever. I can't. I don't.
Not even for the cool CGI. It's where Jackson gets his from.
Yeah, I doubt. Oh, is that what he got? His inspiration for you was Genesis Paradise Lost. Oh. You don't look like a Raptorosaurus or Velociraptor, whatever the hell they were.
They're versatile.
No, they had feathers. You don't have feathers.
Close enough.
Did they have
and
feathers?
You haven't seen all of these, so you don't know.
Jackson, did they have feathers? I don't remember. They had feathers, didn't they?
What?
Velociraptors?
Velociraptors?
Didn't they have like a
yeah, I mean most
with the down?
It's highly likely that almost all Maniraptorans had feathers.
There you go. You heard it here.
But
I can't read their books. I got Nathaniel Jensen's book because he sent him in. I will read that because he's coming on our show. And from what I understand, the biology is fine up to a point, right? It's one of those things. Of course, he's a biologist. He's going to get the biology generally correct. And from what I understand, what I've looked at so far, and I've talked to Dr. Mays about it, that all is right. It's just where he jumps to sharp when he gets to population genetics. That's where he
because Shannon came on RJ's Evolution Hour once. And talked, and she read a little bit of it. And one of his ideas is that zebras moved to Africa because they had stripes. They didn't choose any of the other like field areas in Asia or Europe. Bizarre. They just went to Africa, to Central Africa, because why the heck not?
Yeah, that's bizarre.
I mean,
but think about it. I mean, even as a PhD, and he seems like a really nice guy. I got to admit, he seems like a really nice guy. But even with a PhD in biology, does it show the cognitive dissonance you must have to try to fit what we do know about biology into this younger creationist narrative? It's like trying to stick a round peg into a non-existent triangular hole. It just
giggity.
Cannot do it.
Yeah, I actually, the video I just came out with, Paleontology, in conjunction with my video Paleoclimatology, what I talk about in those is microfossils. A lot of what I talk about is microfossils. And I have to, and when RJ, and it's kind of the same for what RJ did for me, was kind of like how your concept of agnosticism kind of made me really evaluate the way I thought about it. When RJ, first told me anti-evolutionists ignore upwards of 90% of the data, I was like, 90%? That's kind of high. And at first I was kind of like, I'll stay safer. I'll go with around 50%. But the more and more I read their material, of course it is behest, the more I read their material, the more I do research for my videos, the more I go through school and stuff, the more it's like, yeah, that 90% figure is correct. It's like, yeah, it really is 90%. Because, and these microfossils are one instance. The number of citations you can read about for any of these microfossils is immense. Just hundreds and hundreds of papers covering thousands of species. And these things can't be fit into a young Earth model. They cannot. It's not possible, because they are depicting species by species different environments, right? Because they're tiny and they're highly susceptible to environmental changes. And so you can't fit the very gradual changes we see in these microfossils into a young Earth model. Because, for instance, you'd end up with things like Antarctica being a desert and tropical and a frigid wasteland that we all know and love, all at the same time. Right, exactly.
Yeah,
it's like,
right?
can't do it.
All right, I'm having huge mic issues. It's okay. I'm trying to work it out, but it's okay. It's just
well,
all messed up. It's
you know what? This is my show. I'll just talk over all of you from now on.
okay. Nephilim free. Oh, did I go there? I did, didn't I?
Oh, it might be Nephilim free for you. It was Ronnie for me. So
did Ronnie do that to you?
Oh, he abso-freaking-lutely did, and that I had to that was I do not usually get angry when I do chats with people.
Do you see how dishonest he is in a conversation?
Oh man. I actually talked with Savannah, and I was like, I'm gonna have this guy come on my channel, and I'm gonna do this what he did to me. And then I thought about it for a while, and I was like, I need to calm down. I am not gonna have him on my channel because I am not going to talk to him again because I don't care to talk to him again. I'm not gonna go through again what I just went through. I don't care anymore. I'm not associating with him anymore. And so that was basically that was the whole thought process I went through. And so, but I had to calm down because I was like, that made me mad. Because he would ask me, just go on for like 5 to 10 minutes about just crap, whatever random crap was in his mind. Ask me a whole bunch of questions, then give me about 10 seconds to answer a whole bunch of questions, in which case I'd get kind of part of one, and then it would cut me off and start talking again. And I was like, no.
Yeah, no, he has a script, and he wants everybody to go down that script. If you don't follow the script, then he'll just mute you and shut you down, and he'll force you, he'll corral you and trying to talk about that one microscopic area that he still doesn't know shit about, but he can bullshit about easier, right? Because, I mean,
right.
He'll get you in that ATP synthase crap, which he gets wrong all the time. I've even corrected him numerous times. He still gets the same shit wrong. I mean, listen to Ronnie carefully. Listen to him, and anything you ever video pick when he talks about ATP synthase, pick one. Mention something like, well, the C subunit with the 10 to 15 different subunits of the C ring. That's wrong, Ronnie. I've told you that many times. That is for a VATPase. That is not for a
FATPase.
Right. It's not for what you find in the mitochondria in humans, right? And so he's talking about this as evidence is designed for humans. And it's like, the C ring in ATP synthase has 10 subunits, Ronnie, not 10 to 15 subunits. That's not for an FATPase. We've been explained to this numerous times. He still fucks it up.
Well, I mean, he doesn't even know the difference between there's VATPase, there's FATPase, and so I would say I'm surprised, but I really am not. I was talking with somebody who probably doesn't want to be named, but he was telling me he and Rouge were talking to Ronnie about freaking telomeric fusion, and he said at one point Rouge just asked Ronnie, "What part do you think is the telomere?" And Ronnie couldn't answer.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I remember this. I remember he had showed a picture of a bunch of nucleotide sequences, and I think it was the Munchak deer, right? And of course Ronnie's just like, "Well, look at all those telomeres," and he's like, "What are you seeing as telomeres?" And when he asked him, he goes, "Do you know in humans what a telomere is? Do you know what the sequence is?" He didn't even know what TTA-GGG even was, right? He's just like, "Look at all those G-rich sequences," and he's like, "What are you even talking about?" Obviously TTA-GGG is G-rich because it's 3G, right? But that sounds weird. 3G, it's like a phone. But he didn't know what a hexamer was, so he didn't know what a telomeric repeat, and he didn't know where the telomere was located on the chromosome. And it's like, well, if you don't know where the telomere is located on the chromosome, then you probably don't understand what the telomeres are for, because they help prevent fusions, right? And one of the arguments that even Tompkins make is that if this was a telomeric fusion, we would accept to see less degradation of the telomeres,
right?
More telomeres. And Rouge had explained, and again, I'm a layperson on this, don't take my word for shit. I am not a biologist, geneticist by any fucking stretch of imagination. I just listened to them enough to know this particular argument. That you would see, if it was a fusion, you would expect to see a degraded region. You would expect to see non-pristine telomeres. You would expect to see things that are not TTA-GGG perfectly. And when Rouge was explaining this to Ronnie was just lost. He didn't get that. He's like, no, you would expect to see pristine telomeres. Then if that was the case, why would you have a translocation to begin with? Because that is a form of Robinsonian translocation. why would you have a telomeric fusion if you had pristine telomeres? Because the whole point of the telomeres is to prevent things like that. That's the conceptual errors that Rouge brilliantly tries to explain to Ronnie. So,
Oh, believe it or not, Ruhiv actually commented on my chromosome 2 video fairly recently. He said, "Ha, I'm famous." Yeah. Which was
I cite him often. I like his blog.
oh yeah,
Again, because
I
someone like
used
myself who's just not somebody who's formally trained in any of this stuff, I have to defer to them. But at least I want to know the arguments. I want to know what the hell they're talking about. So I have a good concept of what the fusion, the argument is. But Rouge got this down to an art form. He's got this detailed.
right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I used his I used some of his work as well as some of PZ's blog posts on Tompkins, and then of course I had to look at research, and then of course thanks to Rational Mind and Nestleg, I and RJ as always.
Rational Mind really knows his shit inside and out.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thanks to all of them, I got all my errors were fixed from the original video, and so put together one. And the great thing is them showing me where I went wrong and them adding all the correct stuff made it way, way, way better than what I already had. And I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome that even though I was wrong, the truth is far better than what I got wrong, which is great.
That's cool, actually. Well, I mean, like, for example, we probably have to go to the next video soon because I can't talk past like another hour or so, roommates. But I remember like Rational Mind and I had explained to Ronnie, and he made a mistake that he said something, and it would have been a minor mistake had he just corrected and said, "Yeah, I fucked up. I said the wrong thing." We all do that, but not Ronnie. Ronnie decides to double, triple, quadruple down.
Are you talking about the bird thing?
No, we're talking about when he had said that the complex 4 on the electron transport chain, which people may not know, the electron transport chain is part of what you find on the mitochondrial matrix. I'll sound like Ronnie here, but I'm jargon bombing, but actually telling you what the shit actually really is. It's on the mitochondrial matrix, but it's part of cellular respiration. It's how the cell converts.
It's the very last part. It's what generates the most ATP.
Well, it's the very last part. The complex 5 is what the ATP synthase would be.
Right.
So it's a way to produce ATP synthase using electron. As electron loses potential through different complexes, and this was because of a proton gradient on the complex 5 that you can actually generate this. But he said in complex 4, right? I think it's the BC1 complex. Is that what one it is? But in complex 4, he was saying that the oxygen loses electrons and gets and we were trying to explain to him, no, the oxygen gains electrons and you have water formed out of it. So the oxygen gets reduced. It doesn't get oxidized. Oxidation is loss of electrons. And you don't oxidize oxygen. The only thing I can even think of that oxidized oxygen, from as far as I remember, was something called fluorine, because it has a higher electronegative number, but electronegativity is higher. But oxygen itself is an oxidizer. That's why they say it's an oxidizer, right? And so oxidation means loss of electrons, not gain. And yet in complex 4, you gain electrons. And so Rational Mind and myself explained this to Ronnie. He didn't buy it. He said both of us were idiots. We didn't know what the fuck we were talking about. 2 weeks later comes out, oh, by the way, it doesn't lose the electrons, it gains them. But Rational Mind and Steve are still wrong. That's the kind of bullshit you get.
Well, such is life, I guess. Yeah. Even though what is it? I think you tweeted just today, it's not that you're wrong, you're just less right than me.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that you're wrong, you're just less right than me.
Yeah. So anyways,
and by the way, it's the 4 is the cytochrome C oxidase. That's the name of it. The BC1 complex is actually I want to get this right. BC1 complex is a 3, but 4 is your cytochrome C oxidase.
Honestly, I hate having to remember the different cytochrome jobs. And
I have a video on it, by the way. I did. I explained each one and how the how each step, what happens,
because we had to know it for I took micro this past semester. Sucked, but I did it, and so we had to know that stuff for the metabolism.
Mm-hmm. Did you learn this? Did you learn the Krebs cycle too?
Yeah, we had to go over it again, and I still hate it. Even doesn't matter how many times. It does not matter how many times we have to go over this crap, I still do not get it hammered out because it's not that we just go over the same stuff. It's not like they just say, memorize the inputs and outputs, which my teacher did, but she lied about it. They make it's like we have to know more and more stuff. We have to know more enzymes, more steps every time we learn it. And so it's like, you got the stuff you already, I hope, learned, because now we're adding more.
I will tell you this. When I learned about the Krebs cycle and glycolysis and all this other stuff, it was rote memorization. I will tell you right now, I didn't understand shit what I was doing. I memorized it, regurgitated it for the test, and forgot about the next day.
Pretty much. Yeah,
It was just, it's way too complicated. I didn't have an interest either. Maybe now, had I taken it over again, if I taken it now, I probably would do a much better job, because now I do think I understand the concepts a lot better than I did back then.
Yeah,
I went on my way to learn them on my own. But back then, I didn't give a shit, and I just wanted to get through the class. I'm not gonna lie, I was bored. So, anyways,
yeah. Well, let's see.
thanks
It's
for
been
watching.
over an hour and a half. So yeah. Are you interested in talking? Are you still interested in talking to?
It is getting kind of late, actually.
It is getting late. We might be able to do this tomorrow night. Sentinel, he kind of dropped off. So if you're interested, would you do it tomorrow night? Are you busy tomorrow night?
What does he actually want to do? Anyway, I'm just curious.
He says he wants to discuss young Earth creationism with you.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
He's not a young Earth creationist.
Oh, he's not? Oh, well,
no. He's a Hugh Ross. He's a Hugh Ross old Earth creationist.
Oh, well, in that case, I mean, that either way, I still think that would be an interesting conversation. Because we'll
figure something out tomorrow. No, actually, tomorrow, no, I can't. Okay. Because I'm doing the sensory deprivation on non sequitur. Then I want to listen to Kyle and KC do their ideology show that they're doing, which I think is cool. I like the non sequitur show. I think we might be able to build more stuff on, and maybe eventually that I might even want to, get a science person, right? And we'll have like Ask a Scientist, and I can facilitate something like that.
Oh, so yeah.
He's doing his kind of approach to things. I want to take a more scientific approach or more philosophical. So if I do, I might do it on SS, or I just might do it on my own channel. But either way, I want to listen to that discussion. It sounds like it's going to be fun.
Yeah. It like I said, it has become
Thursday. I'm off though. Thursday we have the lovely Rachel Oates at.
It's funny you say Thursday, because I am also actually off from work all Thursday.
Well, she's early because we're gonna have a 3 p.m. Eastern. So because she's European, so that night I'll have free. The lovely Rachel Oates.
Yeah, I think I've maybe seen a video she did with Cranium. I apologize. I don't. I have basically like a group of people on Twitter that I watch, and if the person's not like in that group of people, I don't.
You only got so much time, dude. I get that, right? There's more things. I do end up trying to watch things like the Goddess Iron will have like the best videos of the week, right?
Oh my god!
And I'll go, okay, well, if this video stood out, then I'll go through and watch it. I love that list.
If Iwan sees this, you're nuts. But the funniest streams I've ever been on are on Iwan's channels. Like he has me like laughing so hard, like tears are starting to form.
It's pretty awesome. I gotta admit, I do like his channel, and I had a great time on his channel. It wasn't a funny thing, but I mean, I had a conversation with God is Not Good, and it was brilliant. It was great. We had a great discussion. Wasn't a dumpster fire at all, and I think even God is Not Good understood my positions very well. He's like, I'm so glad that I talked to you, because now I understand what you were trying to say before. And that's the greatest compliment I can get, if somebody tries to understand rather than just says, by fiat, you're wrong. That's kind of annoying.
All right. Yeah. But and that's why I say to Savannah, she's got to come on Iwan's sometime, because I asked him if she could come on. So you got to join me.
I don't feel like I would contribute.
Oh, she froze.
Okay, it wasn't just me. Okay, I was like,
can contribute very much.
Sure you do. If you got a mic, you can contribute. You got something to say, always.
Exactly. You can always tell them their stream sucks. That's always something you can say.
I can boo from the
Boo,
sidelines.
yeah, exactly. I agree with that.
Now we can talk about the dirty, dark secrets about Jackson that we all want to know. Tell us.
He's asking you,
open
Savannah.
lips. I'm ready to tell.
She don't even care. She's like, well, let me tell you about this one time that, one time
He did not pick up the tab at this restaurant. No.
Okay,
he treats me like shit.
Pretty well.
He better treat you pretty well. No,
we actually
Jackson's
just went to.
patient.
We went to the New Orleans Aquarium just 2 days ago, wasn't it?
God, it was just 2 days ago.
I guess
Sunday.
technically 3 now.
I like aquariums. I went to one in I know we gotta go off air here, but real quick, it was Vancouver. They have a big aquarium there, magnificent. I've always been just enthralled by the ocean and things that live in there. But aquarium, those big aquariums, and even I don't like things like SeaWorld because still I have this weird thing. I don't think we should keep certain things in captivity, like orcas and things like that. I just they don't do well in captivity, and I don't think we need to. But I do like aquariums. I mean, they're fish, or whatever. But I'm fascinated by it. Beautiful. Just absolutely
whales
beautiful.
are just fish.
They're just fish.
I mean,
Jackson's
statistically speaking, aren't we all fish?
Monophyletically, we are fish. Something that G-Man will never be able to understand.
We can justify putting anyone in a tank because we're all fish.
Because fish is a group. It's not a clade. It's not a taxon level. It's technically a group. And so when it's monophyletic, but you since tetrapods are no longer part of fish, when we're tetrapods, it is now a paraphyletic clade. So fish is now paraphyletic, and therefore we're not fish by that standard. But I'm talking to the expert here. But I'm not wrong, right?
You are correct.
Jackson had an RA who told him that
oh
he
my
couldn't
God.
keep his axolotl because it wasn't a fish, and Jackson drew a phylogenetic tree on the whiteboard in the study hall downstairs and was like, "It's a fish."
So cute.
And he let him keep it.
Oh
worked.
yeah. I mean,
Jackson
okay,
was like,
come on, Savannah. To be fair, he was gonna let me keep it anyways.
That's true.
But salamanders.
Yeah. He said.
So cute.
Well, the rule is if you have a tank, you can only have fish. You can't have like reptiles or amphibians. And so I said, so he said, Jackson, it's not a fish. And I said, yes, it is. And I can prove it. And he was like, what? And so, yeah, I drew him a phylogenetic tree and showed it to him. He was like,
politically, you'd be right, but
you fought the good fight, babe.
I actually had a friend, Austin. We have a friend named Austin who
hedgehog.
Yeah, he was moving into an apartment and he has a hedgehog, and the rule at the apartment is no rodents. And he said, I'm getting a hedgehog just so they can tell me you have to get rid of it. And he would say, but it's not a rodent. It's it's insectivore is the old cladistic name, or Eulipotyphla is the new one. And so it's like, I said, Austin, I love you.
He almost left me that very night for Austin.
It's like, that's the kind of thing that that melts my heart. What person is so ridiculous they would get a hedgehog just to tell their landlord it's not a rodent. It's like, you have to be.
I think but I like that kind of shit. So
yeah,
I'm not gonna get a hedgehog though. I guess that can be mean.
They're pokey.
Yeah, and quilly.
Yeah. Okay, but for realsies this time. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Steve, for showing up.
I love that. Hey, thanks, Steve, for showing up. We don't expect much out of you, Steve. You just show up, we're fine. We're good to go. We have
the show was about
low expectations for you, Steve. If you show up, that's all we want. Great.
I mean, to be fair, the show was about you. So,
Thank you.
Also,
Thank you.
We didn't. Well, I mean, it's been a while since you were on my channel.
Well, you know what? And I obviously I wanted you for so long, but the last time you had asked me, I actually was out at a Mexican restaurant on a laptop.
Right.
I wouldn't have the greatest connection.
Yeah.
I don't want, my laptop to overheat. It doesn't do Hangouts very well.
Right.
And so I was like, great. I really want to, but your timing sucks.
No, yeah, I remember that you were having a power outage. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a planned power outage, so I decided to go to Castanita's to have lunch and just sit there and use their Wi-Fi. So.
Yeah.
We have more power outages coming up. I think we have one next Friday, but it's like a short one. It's
That sucks having scheduled power outages. I've never,
yeah.
I
Well, they're
honestly
replacing all the
never heard of
poles.
such a thing.
Yeah, the
Uh-huh.
poles are old around here, and so they're replacing each pole one at a time. And so each time they schedule a power outage, so then go replace the pole. That's why.
Huh.
There's a reasoning.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's just, we're at a place where we have unintentional power outages, especially unintentional
Those
internet
poor
outages.
linemen who have to answer all those calls of people saying, "Oh, our power's out." Yeah, we know.
Yeah, my
No,
computer's not
it's
working.
okay.
Is it plugged in? Yeah, but my power's out. Okay. No, actually, it goes something like, my computer's not working. Can you find your manual? Yeah, I can find the manual, but I can't read it. Well, why can't you read it? Because there's no lights on. Why aren't there lights on? Oh, because our power's out. Okay.
That's
Something
right.
along
There
those
you go.
lines. Yeah.
Yep, there you go. But also, thank you to Savannah for showing
Thank you
up.
for having
She
me,
does
guys.
exist.
Yeah, I wasn't.
She's not a Keebler elf. She does exist.
I was not sure if Savannah would make it, but here she is. Yay!
I exist
also-
too. Believe I exist. There are people out there, Savannah, that don't believe I exist. I'm not even kidding you.
Are
Not
you
a
sure?
topic
for
I thought
yourself?
Steve. I thought Steve was my other CGI.
No, I'm actually straight up being legit. They actually will say, I do not believe you exist. Straight up.
I mean, Aaron Raw did say that to G-Man's face in the after show of his talk with Ken Hovind. He said, "I don't believe you're real."
Yeah, that was funny. That was hilarious.
Because just the look on his face was like, "I don't believe you're real." Him saying that. Anyways,
Thanks for watching in the live chat. Those guys are poor guys that have suffered through this. Thanks for watching, Brian.
well, they're
and
talking about.
they're already done with this. Yeah, they're
They're
ignoring
talking
us.
about meerkats now.
Mongooses. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay.
So thanks for watching.
Thanks, Jackson. This was
Bye,
great. I enjoyed it.
everybody.
Bye,
Have a nice
everybody.
night. Don't forget to spade and neuter your pets. All right.